Today, I want to give you a nice little formula that I created that can really be helpful when it comes to communicating with your parents. And that formula is called the 8 Simple Steps to Love a Parent While Breaking Down Their Assumptions About You. Great for the holidays. Now, the benefits of using this formula: there's no attacking involved. You're allowing them to see you. You're connecting with them. It promotes you not going into behavior. It's designed for written communication, not verbal. We'll go into why that is later. And it's not guaranteed, but it may create some improvement, okay? It's designed to help you love your parent while they are loving you. Really helps to break down a lot of walls and to promote love and connection. There are so many walls that we have when it comes to conditioning with our parents, and it could be at any stage of life. I also find that our relationship with our parents is something that is so hardwired into our psychology that it lasts a lifetime. So as we work on our relationship with our parents, as we are in this formula, and more specifically, as we work on our relationship with ourselves, completely independent of our parents, we can change and drastically improve how we interface with life. So who is this formula for? Use this formula when you have a hard time standing up to your parents or telling them the truth about who you are. It's best used when your parents have already demonstrated respect for your choices in the past, okay? I do not recommend using this formula for parents who chronically attack you. And attack can mean anything from being extremely verbally abusive to just giving those very silent digs about disapproval, which no one really talks about when it comes to family gatherings, but it's kind of there. It's just kind of what you're used to, right? And we just disregard it. We throw it under the table. No matter what kind of attack there's going on, this formula would not be appropriate for attack. This is the kind of formula that you would use when you already have a constructive relationship with your parents. Now, what I'm saying to you right now may sound like it's meant for teenagers or 20-somethings, but I tell you what, it can apply for people of any age. It's really difficult to make any kind of hard, fast rules about how we interface with our parents because the diversity of the relationships can vary quite a bit. That said, here are the steps. 8 simple steps to love a parent while breaking down their assumptions about you. Now, this is assuming that they've already given you a written communication of some sort, be it in a letter, a card, or an email. Okay, this does not work well for text because text is very conversational, and it does not work well for phone conversations because those are also very conversational. All right, here we go. Step 1. After you've received the communication from them, avoid the compulsion to justify or defend yourself. This person is trying to connect with you and wants to feel loved by you. Assume it's not an attack. Use the opportunity. So basically, that means that many times our parents may be loving us or trying to love us the best way they know how. But to you, it may come off, you have all that parent psychology going on, and it may make you feel like what they're doing to reach out doesn't necessarily feel like love. It may feel like they're clinging to you. It may feel like they're attacking you. It may feel like they're trying to control you. But in essence, they might just be trying to love you. This can be hard to see sometimes, depending on how much you have resolved some of that parental programming inside of you. So what you're going to find is that one of the really big benefits of using this formula and me having designed it, and again, side note, so many different formulas can be used in so many different situations for a child and a parent or anything. This is not a one-size-fits-all. Okay, this is a very specific formula for a very specific situation. Okay, and side note, the beauty of this formula is that it helps you to create that loving connection with them, like I said in the beginning here, and also it helps you to get past your own stuff with your parents and still have positive connection with them. So that's step 1, avoid the compulsion to justify or defend yourself after reading the letter or email. Step 2, pre-write the whole response. In other words, don't respond prematurely, okay? You're likely to be in behavior if you do that. Take your time with your response. Keep your sentences very short. If you even want to write out a response, I would strongly recommend doing it in a separate document like Word, Microsoft Word, or Notepad. If they sent you an email, don't start writing in the email with their email address in the to box, because you're likely to run the risk of losing what you wrote because you're writing it online, or accidentally sending something to them before it's finished. So write it in a Word doc or a Notepad doc. That way you have plenty of time to edit it, and there's no danger of sending something you don't mean to send. Okay, so pre-write your whole response. Feel free to go hog wild, getting your emotions out if you think that that's going to be part of the deal here. If you don't have emotions about it, that's okay. Just start drafting some stuff that you're feeling. All right. Ideally, we want to shorten down those sentences and keep them very short. We want to complete all the steps before responding. Now, the steps that I have for you today, the 8 simple steps. Okay, we're going to accomplish this whole task in 5 short sentences. Okay, 8 steps, 5 sentences. Step 3, and I'm going to tell you how to do each sentence. Okay, so when I say pre-write the whole response, I'm just saying don't immediately say anything. We're going to go through step by step together right now with these 8 steps to carve out exactly what needs to be said, to engineer it. Okay? It works best when they are giving unsolicited advice to you, right? They've given you something that you didn't necessarily want, like a gift or advice or that kind of thing. And again, remember, they're not doing it to attack. They're doing it because they're trying their best to love you. All right, and you're not quite sure just how to respond to that because relations have been a bit scary prior to now. Okay, so step 3, first sentence is step 3, which is say thank you. Hey, it's like, I enjoyed the article on blank that you sent me based on our last conversation we had, right? Thank you. That's it. You're thanking them. All right? No matter how you feel about it underneath, you're thanking them for it. Okay? Sentence number 2, which is step 4. Make a minor assurance. Now, this is optional. A minor assurance might be no worries, which tells them that you're acknowledging their concern, that you're not on the defensive, and you're not hooked into their approval. Now, if you're not sure how to do this step, just skip it. Step 5, state your truth. Okay? This is where we get into why we have to have a formula for this, because telling your truth to your parents isn't always easy, and it doesn't matter how old you are. You could be 10, you could be 20, you could be 60, and still have problems telling your parents how you really feel. But I promise you, if you can make one tiny little improvement in this area, it'll drastically improve your relationship, your self-confidence, your self-esteem, and every other relationship you have in your life too. Okay, so step 5 is state your truth. All right, this is our third sentence. Example. blank isn't an issue for me. Let's say they sent you an article on being overweight. You could just say, blank, my weight isn't an issue for me. Period. It's a truth. Or I'm a size 10, not a size 20, right? You just say, I'm a size 10. Or I actually don't wear turtlenecks. Now, you're not defending here, although it may feel like you are. You're sharing what's true about you so that they have the opportunity to see you differently, which can grow the relationship. If you never tell your parents your truth because you're worried about losing their approval, or you're worried about losing people pleasing them, or whatever, then you're not really giving them the opportunity to love you better, right? So that makes it really hard to grow the relationship. So when you're sharing what's true about you, you give them the opportunity to see you differently, which can grow the relationship. Okay? Now at that point, they get to choose if they're going to change their perception about you for future interactions. All right? Since we're assuming that they're reaching out to love us right now. That's why they gave us these gift or this advice, right? Now, technically speaking, they really have no business doing it, but they're just reaching out because they want to connect with you and love you, right? Our parents and anybody else has no business having any opinions about our life, period. But we are mature enough to see that they're reaching out here right now is an act of love. It's them doing their best to reach out and to connect. Okay? No one's an expert on loving, but what we want to do is look for the intention, right? There's no attack. There's an intention to connect, right? So your job is to get past your childhood stuff and see that this person's just wanting to connect, all right? They're not looking to hurt you. They're not necessarily looking to control you or whatever, okay? So they get to choose if they change their perception about you for your future interactions. They get to choose if they are going to love you better. Now, if they do, great, the relationship gets to grow because you're allowing them to see you. If they don't, if they still choose to send the same old gifts or give the same old advice, probably one of two things is happening. Number one, they didn't get the message. Some people are dense. Number two, and especially if you know that they have a history of this, they may likely be in behavior, which means the purpose of sending the advice or the gift is attack, in which case this formula is not the right formula, okay? Because if their behavior, which looks like help or looks like loving you, is really meant to attack you or to be in some other kind of behavior, that commands an entirely different communication strategy in the future, okay? Remember, this formula is for child and parent who are in a constructive mode. Okay, they are truly trying to love you, and you are wanting to be loving to them, and nobody is in behavior here. Okay, you're just bridging the gap between yourself and your own old programming, and you're trying to break through your old programming and do the same with them to reconnect. Okay, I also want you to notice that all these statements are I statements. They are not you statements. When you tell your truth, you're always talking about me, myself, my feelings, not the parents' feelings, right? You're talking about yourself, your feelings, not your parents. You're not even commenting on anything that they did other than thanking them for what they had provided to you. Okay. Step number 6. I simply shared vulnerably with you that day on the phone what I was feeling during a heavy transitional time. So combining step 5 and step 6, blank isn't an issue for me. I simply shared vulnerably with you that day on the phone what I was feeling during a heavily transitional time. In step 6, you're going to tell your truth about the context of why you did or what you said about you in your last conversation and why that was unique for you. And you're doing it in one short sentence, like I just gave you the example. Okay, when you do this, you are assuring them that your previous bold statement of truth in step 5 isn't an attack, and it's not meant to make them wrong or create any distance. You're giving them, what you're doing is giving them the opportunity to see how their assumption that they had made about you, why they gave you X gift or X advice or what have you, how their assumption may not always be true for you, but could have been true at the time, i.e., what you said while you felt emotional. Okay? This step 6, is not for you. It's for them. You're not justifying here. You're not defending. You're not looking for their approval. You are cushioning the blow after you stated your truth in step 5 by providing just a short little explanation in step 6. Okay? And that short explanation, you're not asking for anything. You're not defending in fear the truth you had just stated in step 5. You're cushioning the blow to tell them, to reassure them that it's not their fault, that you're telling them your truth about you, which is in step 5. It can be easy to confuse this with justification, but again, this formula is a little bit more advanced. It's for people who are already having a constructive relationship with their parents and know not to justify their choices to their parents. That's why we can make this statement in step 6, which technically is a justification, but we're not hooked into the approval. Instead, we're loving our parent by making this explanation about why we did what we did. Completely optional. You don't have to do it. If you aren't at this place with your parent yet, I would strongly recommend never justifying yourself. Okay? If your parents do not respect your choices, or if they have an opinion about your choices, I recommend never, ever, ever justify yourself, justify your choice. Okay? So you got to take that justification thing very carefully. You also don't want to justify somebody in a conversation via phone or text, because that gives them the opportunity to hook into what you're saying. You're giving them rope, which allows them to pull on the rope and say, well, why can't you do this? Or maybe you can do it next time. Or let's make up a different date. That's why you never, ever justify, because it's not open for discussion. Okay? So we never justify if a parent cannot respect our choice or accept it when we say. Okay? Now we're doing that differently in this formula because we already have a parent who respects our choices. If you don't feel like you can do it, don't. If you feel like you're going to look for approval, don't. Okay? Step 7, which is statement number 5. End it with a light statement, i.e., hey, I hope you had a fun time this weekend. Hope you enjoyed your weekend. Hope you had a fun holiday. Hope maybe you see what they did on Facebook. Hey, I hope you guys had a great time. This brings the interaction to a close, indicating that you're not interested in talking about it further. It's not open for discussion. You're not looking for their feedback on what you told them. You're not looking for their opinion on what you told them. If you do, the formula will fail. This formula. Okay, and then step 8, reread your statements and then send them, right, via written letter or email. Now, we did a lot of work here in only 5 sentences, so I want to congratulate you. Great job. You will likely receive a positive response from your parent. Okay, now we have no idea, but how a parent's going to respond and what your relationship is, and it's really hard to know exactly how it's going to go, but there is still a ton of learning in here, and things that you can try, that you can use as fodder to improve the relationship with your parents. In conclusion, one of the hardest things to do with a parent is tell them your truth without going into the need for approval. Technically, you should never justify your choices to a parent. But this formula violates that for the purpose of loving them. Okay. It assumes the son or daughter can explain him or herself without looking for the parent's approval. It takes years to unravel this successfully, so please be patient with yourself and practice. This formula isn't for beginners, although it may work for beginners in some situations. It works best when you already have a parent who respects your choices, like I said. Okay. All right, so that's it. 8 simple steps to love a parent while breaking down their assumptions about you. You know, it's not really about how the conversation goes down, or the letter writing or the email writing goes down back and forth. It's really about what you learn about yourself, self-awareness. It's about learning how to love your parent despite your behavior, despite your triggers. It's about healthy boundaries. It's about learning how not to attack. I mean, there's a whole bunch of things that can be learned in practicing something like this. And you can tailor it to make it work for you. There really isn't a wrong way to word something as long as you are saying how you feel, right? As long as how you feel isn't about them. You're just telling how you feel. That's irrefutable. No one can argue how you feel, right? You're not looking for approval. So again, it's good not to justify and defend anything, or even explain your choices. You just say, hey, I'm not going to be doing that, but thanks, or whatever. Okay. This formula also teaches you how to stay out of behavior with yourself and out of behavior with them. You might be feeling behavior. You might be feeling like you want to defend yourself or like you want to attack or whatever. But it really is just as much for you as it is for your parent. It helps you to see yourself in your relationship with your parent as much as it does help your parent see you. We all bitch and complain about, my parent really doesn't see me or get me. Well, that's because you're in behavior, right? Maybe they don't get you or see you, but they're not going to get you or see you until you start learning how to practice loving them. And that means getting past your own behavior so that you can start taking responsibility for the relationship. In this scenario, your parent is already loving you the best way that they know how. So now it's about you taking responsibility and being accountable and taking the next step. And that's what this formula promotes. Okay? So 8 simple steps and to love a parent and to break down their assumptions. I don't know if that's the best title, but there's a lot more going on in here than just that. Lots of healthy habits being cultivated. So I hope you enjoyed that, and practice and enjoy having better relationships with yourself, with your parents, and anybody who you practice, really being conscious and conscientious about how you speak to them. The more you take responsibility with yourself, your own emotions, the better your relationships are going to be. Have a great time. Enjoy, and we'll see you next time.